secured, and you've got the playoffs beginning in a week.
Rob, we will approach the game like no other. Exactly the same, same format, same precision, same detail, same understanding, same commitment, as we've done for the previous 45 games.
Will you consider resting anybody who may not be 100% though, just to be safe for next week? Or in your opinion, is this a game that really needs to be won and you've got to put your best players out there?
Yeah, if the team and the players are fit, which they've been, we see no different really in terms of them all competing for a starting place, and go from there. If we feel that we've got players here that we don't feel is fit enough, then obviously we'll take them out of the squad. But as far as we're concerned, we just carry on as normal.
Do you feel like you've regained momentum with 3 wins in a row?
Yeah, I think what happened, Rob, was last week at Shrewsbury. I mean, you had to be there to really feel it. There was a real energy from the away support. And I said it a couple of weeks ago, really, that the most important component in this running is the fans, our support. I was on the pitch at Shrewsbury, and the energy that came from that stand was absolutely electric. And also, I had a good friend of mine that was at the game that went in with the crowd at the away end. I got him a ticket and went in the away end, and he sent me video footage of the supporters behind it. So I got it from on the pitch perspective, but from in the stands as well. And the energy, what was generated from that away support was fantastic. It then accumulated that we went into the Player of the Year and Night Awards on the Sunday, and the energy in the room with the players receiving their awards and everything. Obviously, Rob, you was there. There was a real great energy in the room, and there was a real camaraderie between the supporters and the players, and I thought it was a great night, and that all accumulated from that at Shrewsbury with the performance, and then when we all got together and had a Player of the Year awards and everything. So I was really, really pleased. So it does feel within the camp, and credit to the supporters and everything else, that there's a bit of momentum back, having won the last 3 games.
Did your mate join in with any of the songs, Darren?
He did actually. He was a bit out of tune. Because he didn't know him so much, but he did, and he sent me 3 videos, different angles of, before, during, and after the game, and the vocal support was excellent. Especially the one that he sent me at the end when the players came over was really special.
I was going to ask you about the feeling of last weekend, the Shrewsbury, when you've mentioned the awards dinner there. And I wondered if that was sort of a tangible change, like a reset, that any disappointment of missing out on the top 2 has been digested, and now the group has moved on, and that Shrewsbury and that night has helped that accumulate. Now, is that a very accurate feeling? Is it almost like the season starts now for Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah, and a large part of that was generated by the supporters. And what I liked about Sunday evening, again, because obviously one of those dinners, Rob, wasn't done, what I liked was there was the camaraderie, that the supporters were able to get the character of the players, and as the players were able to engage with the supporters. And I think that was the most important thing, which everything what we tried to bring to the football club in that togetherness approach, and we're all as one, that was implemented over the game at Shrewsbury, and then on the evening of the awards. And I think that was a real big pivotal moment really for players and supporters and players. And it really just felt as one on the night. It was such a wonderful atmosphere in the room, and sorry for the ones that couldn't make it there, but if you speak to the supporters, what was in the room and everything else, and obviously, Rob, your engagement, getting the players on the stage, the players able to communicate with the supporters, was a real special moment. I thought it was a wonderful evening off the back of those 2 games. So we've had a good week's training. We've got good opposition to play against on Sunday. We know in terms of how the game will be deemed for them in terms of the severity of the match, but the severity of the match is for both clubs really in terms of the competitive nature and approach. So we'll plan as detailed as we can, and we look forward to what will be, I'm sure, another entertaining game.
Final question on last weekend. I'm guessing you've seen the video, Darren, but I wanted to ask you what you made of Will Volks' singing.
Rob, you put me on the spot here with Will Volks is singing. Yeah, he did as well as he could, couldn't he? And that, like, you know, so fair play to him. Credit to Will. I think a lot of us have saw what he's done for the club on the pitch, but his work off the pitch in terms of the community work, I think we'll all agree we'll let him get away with that one.
What do you expect from this game overall? Because it's a sellout crowd. Derby, there's a lot at stake for Derby. They need a result to qualify for the playoffs. Obviously, you were secure in third place. What kind of a game do you expect?
It's a good game, Rob, and the reason why it's a great game is because obviously a couple of reasons. We've sort of equaled the club record of sort of 93 points, so we know that anything better in terms of a points tally, a draw, a win on Sunday, means that we've set a new record and another record that we've set this season in terms of that positive approach. So there's that from our aspect, and being at home in front of our home crowd. So that's a bare significance for us, and obviously for Derby, they'll come and, you know, they know that to keep it in their own hands and not relying on results elsewhere, they'll want to come and win the game. So it bodes well for that type of open, entertaining football match in terms of the fans to get right into it. And again, hopefully you'll see two teams fully at it because of those dynamics, what's resting on the game. So we're really looking forward to the game, and but we know that they'll come and they're looking to try and get the 3 points to be absolutely certain. Because obviously if they don't get the result that they want, then they're relying on a result elsewhere, and I would imagine they'll want to keep it in their own hands.
The only thing I wanted to ask you about, it's been reported that David Downs, the club's head of recruitment, is joining Blackpool as sporting director. How big a blow is that, Darren?
What I'll say, Rob, is that you know, there's been a lot of speculation with David, but there's been nothing out in the press in terms of concrete, and I've got to treat it as speculation. Should we as a football club hear anything and get anything concrete on the matter, then obviously we'll communicate that with everybody surrounding the football club. But at the moment, Rob, it's been speculation, and we have to treat it that way.
So just to clarify, he's not told you then that he's joining Blackpool. Is there still a chance that he could stay? Will you speak to him about staying? And the reason I think this is important is timing-wise, Darren, whether you're in the Championship or League One next year, this is a critical time, isn't it? You know, the next sort of month, 6 weeks is when the plans get made for who you're going to sign this summer. So if he is leaving the club, fans are going to want to know, is he going to be replaced? Is it going to impact the transfers? Is it going to enable this football team to do what it needs to do this summer? Yeah,
and breaking it down like that gives it good context. And what I would say to you, Rob, is that the work for next season is already in place and done in terms of that. So that's in place and that's already done because now, such has been the working at this football club and getting things in place. We've worked extremely hard over the 2 seasons to get in place, and that should illustrate to what happened at the start of the season when we were able to get all those players in very, very early. I remember you saying that Sheffield Wednesday's never been in that situation where we've done our work early. Well, the same can be said here now, that the targets that we need to bring in for next season and the work's already in place. What I would say is that next week presents the week where after the weekend and we get through the bank holiday, as the manager at the football club and the chairman and all the speculation that's surrounding David, we'll be able to talk and deal with that next week. So until we approach that, we'll be able then to address all the supporters and everybody surrounding the football club. But at the moment now, our focus and vision is on Sunday's game, and that's what it is. And I know the news broke over the last 24 hours, but our detail and focus is on Sunday's game.
Cheers for your time, Darren. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Afternoon, Darren. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. Afternoon, mate.
Just wanted to ask first up about Will singing. You mentioned the singing there, but the actual event itself, obviously it's great for the fans to get to sort of rub shoulders with the players, the guys they see on the pitch, but how good is it for the players themselves? You know, to have that chance to actually speak to the people that are cheering them on from the sidelines?
it's important for them. But you know why it's been great for them, Joe? It's because this season we've connected back. We've got out into the community programs. We've rubbed shoulders with fans, and fans have been in a training ground. Players have gone into the community, into the domain. So I think it's been really refreshing that the players felt at ease to be able to show their personalities and their character. And I was sat in the room, and as the manager, I couldn't be any more prouder, because there was a wonderful feeling in the room, and everything that we spoke about at this football club, to see on the Sunday night, actually physically and mentally and emotionally in the room, was a wonderful moment. So I just thank everybody for being there, all the supporters for coming and making it a wonderful night. I thank the supporters for the energy that they gave us at Shrewsbury. There was a wonderful feel-good factor on the team bus on the way back up. And thank you to the supporters for that, because they've brought the feel-good factor to the players, the group. What we're just doing is just focusing now on the game on Sunday. And then we carry on from there, really, in terms of that. But I'm able to speak eloquently now, Joe, about it, because I've witnessed both the game and the evening at the awards, and I really had a great time, a really enjoyable evening. But now we fix our attentions back to the league programme on Sunday.
You mentioned there about the team bus on the way back. Is that something that the players, they obviously, like I say, we all heard the noise against Shrewsbury. Were the players sort of talking about that on the bus on the way home?
Yeah, the word they used, Joe, was energy. The fans just came with this energy. It was, you had to feel it across the surface in terms of Shrewsbury, and I was there as well, so I felt what they were saying. So when they came back in the dressing room afterwards, we spoke about them being totally with us and going all the way. So the boys felt that at the end of the game. So they jumped back on the team bus with a spring in their step, having get the 3 points. We spoke about going to Shrewsbury, a difficult place, and putting on the right performance and winning the game. And the boys did that. And as I said, coming back on the team bus, that was spoken about, because I was on the way travelling back up. And of course, then I think that sort of rolls into the Sunday night. I really did think it rolled into it. And that's why there was a wonderful energy I feel in the room. And that's why I'm able to come here now and give everybody listening to this both aspects of us as a team on the pitch, what the fans did, but us also in the Player of the Year awards. And though Liam Palmer will pick up a lot of the accolades really on what's been a memorable season for him, our message been to Palms and the group of players that we still got more work to do, and we need to continue on the front foot.
Brilliant. Just sort of speaking about the game itself, there's been a lot flying around about Lee Gregory this week. Talk of a facial injury that he's picked up. Could you give us a little bit of information of where Lee's at?
I don't want to speak about the injury updates and that. Obviously, Joe, we just want to focus on the fit boys, and that's all I'm just going to do, is just focus on that, especially the game on Sunday.
Okay, is that the same for, I've got to ask, is it the same for Reece James and Jack Hunt as well?
Yeah, for all of them really, in terms of that going forward. It's just something that we want to just keep focusing on and momentum the boys and keep moving in the right direction.
No worries. I probably know the answer to this question as well, but do you have a preferred opponent in the playoffs? I know this obviously coming after this game, but is there anyone that you'd prefer out of Bolton, Derby or Peterborough?
Joe, because you know me so well, you tell everybody what I'd be saying, because you know me, what's going on. Tell them now. You tell them, Joe.
Fair enough, yeah. Got just on to the next game, Darren.
Cheers.
Just wanted to ask about the retained list for the youngsters that came out this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, lots of lads who have moved on from the 21s and the 18s. What goes into making those decisions? When you look at the young lads and you decide that they're not going to have a future at Wednesday anymore.
Yeah. So it's the hardest decision for any coach at this stage of the season, where you have the release and retain list for any player or up-and-coming player. What's taken into consideration has been their development over the time they've been here, in the length of contract, and when I say their development, it can be coming physical, emotionally, mental, all decision making, the development technically of them, speed, power, agility, all those kind of things go into making a decision. And also, are they able to impact the next stage where they're moving into? Do we see further development in there? Is the first team player that we've got in that position, do we see the younger player replacing him? Or is there a younger one, even younger behind that under 18s or under 23s, that we think that player is going to block the pathway of the younger one coming through? So all those decisions are taken into real consideration, and the reports over the course of the season, that's why we have the technical board meetings, is because we're keeping a firm process on the under 18s, certainly on under 23s, certainly when they're going to impact our group. And as you've seen, there's been some younger players that's been with the first team that we think high praise and high quality in terms of their development, and there's been some that's been on the fringe and some that we felt that should have been in the first team picture but just simply couldn't get there for whatever reason. That may have been injury or loss of form or just not quite able to take that next step. When the youngsters are under 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, the games like that, Joe, in terms of understanding it, by the time they come to under 23s, the room for errors like that, because they're being judged against elite players in first team level, and they're being pushed from under 18s coming up through. So it gets to a real difficult moment that they're real scrutinised even more. And that's the reason why the decisions are made based on those, but they've been an accumulative decision over the course of the season and not just based on 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, one player you have offered a new contract to is Jay Glover. What is it about Jay that sort of impressed you? Why did you decide that he was deserving of a bit of extra time?
Yeah, we like Jay because again he's always been one edging towards it, and when he trains in the first team and he's in and around the 23s, there's that consistency of approach. So Jay's always in and around it, and even when he steps in the first team, he's shown a level of maturity and speed and power to his game that's been really second to none. We look at Jay and feel with Jay that even though he's part of the fringe of the first team and 23s, we feel that a sustained loan again next season at a much higher level will be good for him, for his development. But again, he's somebody that will get back in pre-season, and he's another player that I feel that pre-season will be very important for him, especially when we're playing those games and him being in that first team environment. So we felt it was good to keep him on board and keep him going for another season.
Will that be the case with a lot of the younger boys, that they'll come in for pre-season and then on the back of that you'll decide if they're going to stick around or if they need a loan? I
like that for Joe, because when you're playing pre-season, there is a real serious side to it, because you're putting them in with the first team players, you're playing them in first team fixtures, and you're playing them in fixtures in terms of you're playing in a game where a lot of decisions is made for them younger players at that level. So when they do come back, they come back with a bit, maybe the senior players may warm into it, but certainly for the younger players, you want them really hitting the ground running, because it is a wonderful opportunity where you have 6 to 8 games in pre-season against opposition, and you want to see them that if they are to be anywhere near the first team for the up and coming season, they're expected to handle the football in pre-season. So that's a real detail for the younger players, whereas probably the seniors, they probably get a little bit more grace in terms of they'll warm into it and build into it. The younger players certainly need to hit the ground running.
Brilliant. Just lastly from me, you had Tommy Spur and his young lad Rio in at the training ground this week. How nice is it to see little Rio running about, having got that great news, and obviously the charity game that they've got coming up as well?
Yeah, wonderful news, fantastic news, it really is, and we extend that to Tommy, Rio and the whole family. We're absolutely delighted here at Sheffield Wednesday, and to see little Rio running across the training ground this week is fantastic. And it's moments like this, Joe, when we speak about the football season being the season it's been, but there's special moments within it where we can all break and we put football into perspective and see little Rio. And it just brings a warming smile to everybody's face. We're delighted for Tommy, his wife, his lovely family, and we're all there supporting, and long may Rio continue to grow, get bigger, stronger. But we're all delighted as a football club, and it was great to see him here in the week at the training ground, and him kicking the ball around like boys want to do, is kick the ball around. So it was great to see.
He's got a decent right foot on him as well. Got to keep an eye on that.
Got a nice right foot. I said to Liam Palmer, you got to be careful with this one.
Cheers, Darren. All the best.
Cheers.
Darren, how's it going?
Hi, Alex. Afternoon, mate.
Just to pick up on a couple of bits that you mentioned with Rob there in terms of plans for the summer and stuff. I know you don't want to get too far ahead, but this is looking forward, maybe a little bit too far forward. It's come to that time where you clubs can speak to players that come to the end of the contract and that sort of thing. Has that work been done? Have you identified and had conversations with potential players?
Yeah, what's happened, Alex, and again, honest, I've had my phone starting to ring with agents and advisors, touting players now towards us already. I've refrained from it. Certainly, I've refrained from it because our focus is just on this season. It's a real funny time, really, because what you're doing is small-term goals. You're looking here and now, but also you have to put things in for long-term goals. So already our pre-season program's done. Already the venue for pre-seasons next year. I'm speaking to managers about arranging games and so on and so forth. The managers refrain from talking about players to one another because they understand the context of where the season's at. But certainly the representatives and the advisors, they're all out already trying to make phone calls already. And I've just refrained from it really, just to focus on. So those conversations, probably players meeting up now, are already being had and are going on now. But certainly for us, immediately we put a stop. The recruitment team can do their job, and that's what I said to Rob. Our work in terms of the summer is in place. It's in place, and we're all we're all invested in it. The chairman knows, the recruitment team know, I know in terms of that. So all that's in place. So we've got that part, because that's not an ad hoc that we jump into it now. That's been consistent over the course of the season. I spoke to you and I said to you before, Alex, that we have weekly or every fortnightly meet-ups because things change along the way. And because things change along the way, we've got to be in the know and in the knowledge of what's happening and going along the way. And as I said, as a football club, we've moved a lot in terms of that recruitment side. And that's why I was able to do the work very early last season, because the work was already done. So when those players came available, we had no hesitation but to move really quick and early. And we've seen the rewards that they've brought us this season with how the season's gone this season, with some of the records that we've done this season. And we know our season's very much still alive, and we've still got a lot of work to do.
How does it work with the position that the club are in? Have you got a piece of paper with plan A on it, a piece of paper with plan B, or is it a bit more fluid than that?
Yeah, it's more than a piece of paper, Alex, in terms of...
Lots of pieces of paper then.
Yeah, there's there'll be a folder. We've got a program on the computers. There's a folder. There's all sorts, information, contact numbers, information, representatives, everything else that we need to know, video profiles of players, details, strengths and weaknesses, a breakdown of the individual players, injury records, all those kind of things that go hand in hand when it comes to the recruitment side of recruiting a player in. And that's very, very important, and it's important that the powers that be here at the football club know that as well, and why we are pursuing this player, and why we feel this player will be right in taking the club forward. Any player comes in here with the emphasis of taking the club forward. It has to be, and every single one of them has to work. In terms of that, you saw this year that the squad be reduced even smaller, but more versatility to the squad. You saw this year that the squad's got more physicality and more power. All these kind of things are different from the dynamics from last season, whilst not mitigating the technical work that we've had with them. So there's been a lot of things like that this season that we've implemented. But again, in terms of the recruitment side, we have to build on top of that and continue to build on top of that and put in them solid foundations within the football club, whilst also at the same time, Alex, opening the door for the academy, because we've got to get our academy through. And I think we've gone a large way and a long steps towards identifying them areas.
I guess what I'm getting at more broadly, Darren, is there a plan for the Championship, and then there's a plan for League One?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned records there. My numbers are sketchy. I need to tighten up on this, but I think a win this weekend would make you the team with the highest number of points of any team not to win automatic promotion. How much is that a driver for you? Because it does tell its own story. Obviously, the disappointment of missing out on the top two, but it does tell a story of where this team's at and what they have achieved this season.
Yeah, and it is, and you know, that's the small sort of target that we're looking at, and it has been, you know, it showcases where this team's been at this season, and it showcases the team that there's been a forward movement from the team from last season, and that clearly shows in all areas of the game in terms of, you know, different goal scorers, clean sheets, goals scored, different types of goals. There's just been all sorts really, but in terms of that, they've not been a team that has wanted to sit back and rest back on their laurels, because there's still a lot of work to be done. So we continue to do that. We still got another game to go on Sunday against Derby, which bodes well for a really good game. And the players have to remain focused and remain determined to continue showing that form going forward. And that's where our focus lies at the moment, Alex, is with that in mind. And, you know, it's another great points tally to savour and to take the positives out of it and look forward to the game on Sunday.
This time last season, you'll remember the game against Portsmouth, the home game, and Barry going down injured late. Obviously, you know, tremendously unlucky, especially with someone with his, you know, very strong injury record. But how much does that sort of, you know, sear into your mind a little bit that, you know, maybe going late into the last half an hour of Sunday's game, you know, those sort of things can happen? Yeah,
because it's been a long, grueling season for the players, and certainly this season we've not had the versatility of in depth of bodies to rotate the squad around. So you're always looking at that, and you've seen me over the course of the season manage players as best as you can in terms of the league season. So of course that's always in your mind as a manager, and right from the first minute, it's a competitive sport, so we understand it. But certainly when it reaches the latter parts of the game, then of course you do take those considerations into hand when, you know, the fatigue element can come into it. So and you know, we've done well in managing Icky and Callum Patterson back from their injuries in terms of the games and the minutes and times. And you know what I'm like, you know, if I feel that a player needs a certain amount of minutes, they'll get those minutes and they're off, you know. So that will be taken into consideration, of course, on Sunday. But the focus and the determination and desire is the game, and we're building for that competitive game, and the mindset and the mentality is very much on that focus for the game on Sunday.
Good stuff. Wednesday have a colourful recent history with Derby. I mean, for the players that were around, for yourself, how much is that a bit of a driver, that sort of last day in the Championship? And also, can you give us a bit of an insight into where you were at? I remember speaking to you afterwards, and it was quite clear, you know, you were still a little bit poorly, and you perhaps come back a little bit early. Can you give us an insight into what that day was like for you from a human perspective?
It was for me it was a bittersweet day in terms of, it was bitter because obviously the relegation, it was bitter because of my illness, but it was sweet in terms of, I thought, right, now the work starts, Alex, really, you know. So in terms of that, I was disappointed after the game, but it was really, I couldn't wait to really get the next week out the way, because I just knew that for this fantastic football club. Now let's get some real work going and let's really shake the core of the tree, really, in terms of implementing some real detail in this football club in terms of players, in terms of mentality, in terms of culture, and get this club moving forward. And I would say from that day, there has been a forward momentum movement in the football club, in all aspects of the football club. And that's been an aspect that I keep saying, it's not just been me, it's been everybody that shared into it, because I can't do it, you can't do it alone. So it's been a real forward momentum movement by everybody, so credit to everybody. And whilst we all desire for more this season, when we look back up until this point before we kick a ball on Sunday, there's been a real forward movement by the football club, and that needs to continue, and we don't rest back on our laurels from then. So for me, when I look back at the day, I call it a bittersweet day, because on those couple of disappointments, but on a positive note, not sitting back and sort of being in that doom and gloom, the only way is forward, and that's been that upward trajectory movement mindset for this football club, and that's what I'm continuing to implement at this football club and try and play my part as best as I can along with everybody else.
Good stuff. Just finally, I'm going to chance my arm a bit here. You may well shut me down, and I think you might, but I know you're not on social media. There's usually sort of a rumour or two on, when injuries come around, but I mean the stuff with Lee Gregory is quite widespread. I think it's sort of exacerbated when the players are from the city and all the rest of it. Is that something you just don't want to comment on, or?
Yeah, I don't want to comment on it.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought I'd chance my arm. Cheers, Darren.
Cheers.
Hi, Darren. You okay?
Hi, Ricky. Yeah, good, thanks.
Good stuff. I know obviously you don't want to speak about Lee personally then, but if, what you're saying or what you're not saying rather would indicate to a lot of fans that he's not going to be available. So if that's the case, have you got enough with Josh just coming back as he has?
Yeah, we have. We feel that in terms of in options up that front end of the pitch. Yeah, we feel that we've got enough options going forward in terms of that front end of the pitch. So we're perfectly fine and happy with that.
Is Josh, how's he been in training first of all this week? 'Cause obviously he got a few minutes, I think, didn't he, last week? After a long time out, is he kind of ready to gradually come back?
Yeah, because Josh missed probably like 6 weeks in total. So really, he's had a week's training, then he had a few minutes of the Shrewsbury game. He's done another week's training. So that's great for Josh, great for us, because it's just the volume that he's getting into training. And he's been out there today, and he's showing some wonderful dynamic movements, which is what we want, and we know Josh can do. So we're really pleased in terms of his progression, where he's at, and what a time to have him back. Great time to have him back.
I know last week after the Shrewsbury game, you said Liam might have had a little bit of cramp. Has that all eased up now and he's fine?
Yeah, he was. That was more like for cramp. But again, with it coming into like sort of a 1 game week, they're able to sort of get over that now, and he's trained fine, and yeah, he's fine as well, Liam. So yeah, he's fine.
Obviously, the playoffs coming up after Sunday's match. I think we spoke about it last week, but the scheduling's quite unique, isn't it? I mean, you've got a little bit less time now than before. I think the Thursday, the second leg, but it's still effectively a game a week now, isn't it? Until the fingers crossed the final.
Yeah, and though I don't really want to talk about those playoff games yet until we finish the game on Sunday, because obviously we can only speculate who in the playoffs, but we know the dates are set. So the dates are quite unique, because if you remember, Ricky, that the dates are usually the weekend and on the Tuesday. So there's a real quick turnaround, but there's quite long gaps in between the games, which aids recovery time, which aids that you can get on the training ground and work in between games and everything else like that. So that's quite unique and new to us all, really, which, we'll take it.
Just on the defence, obviously you went with Michael Ekwa in centre last week, put in a really good performance, didn't he? His first league start for about 5 or 6 months. Him and Aidan Flint able to play in the same team. I know he came on for Aidan, I think, in the game before, and obviously vice versa at Shrewsbury. As a three, can they both play, or does one of them have to play in that centre?
Yeah, they can play as in a three. Absolutely, they can play in a three. The idea for Icky was to build him for the home game against I think it was Exeter when he come back. Was it Exeter? And then give him an extended time again at Shrewsbury. 2 massive box tick for him in terms of his development coming back. Spoke to Aidan and told Aidan exactly what he was doing. We was going to start Icky and then give him some match minutes and build up his minutes, and then he'd come on for the final 20-30 minutes at Shrewsbury, and that worked. So what it's done is given Icky the volume in training, and not only the volume in training, the match minutes, which has been vital. So in terms of managing his game time, as we did with Callum Patterson when him coming back, there's been a real clear understanding in the medical department, the sports science department, and the coaching department in managing these players back and getting them up to speed. What we've got now, we've got Icky up to speed, as well as having Aidan up to speed as well, really. So it's been a careful management of 2 defenders, really, in the situation that they've been in, where both of them have been understanding in terms of their roles and responsibility for us. But coming into this stage of the season, they're both up to speed, which credit to everybody.
I suppose got a bit of a dilemma as well, because obviously Liam, and obviously you think how Dom played last week as well. So in that centre half, those 3 centre halves, you've got a bit of a decision to make, haven't you, for Sunday?
Yes, I have, Ricky. I have got a decision to make, barring that they all come through training over these next couple of days. Yes, I have got a decision to make, but what a nice decision to have to make, really. And the more of those decisions I've got to make, then I'm happy to make those decisions. But I will have a decision to make on Sunday, yeah.
Just going on the, obviously the under-21s and the under-18s, I know you spoke to Joe about it. Have those all decisions been made now? Is any more to be made, or have they all been aired and by the club?
There's 2 more decisions to be made on Sam Durant and Ryan Galvin. Right. Ryan's just finished his loan with Maidstone. Ryan's back in with the group and training with us, another able body. And both him and Sam look really good. What they've both shown is a real strength by playing the games that they have played and training with us. So really, really good to have those 2 as 2 relatively under 21s, 23s, but seniors in terms of the age that they are. So they've added to the group really, really nicely.
I know I asked you about Sam last week. I suppose Ryan's in the same boat. You know, they're at that age where, you know, they have to be start playing first team football now, don't they? You know, I don't know the exact ages. I presume they're both 21.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit older.
Yeah.
But you know, that's got to get into the thinking, I guess. You know, you can't play under 21 football forever, can you?
No, and both of them are really, really good. Ryan Galvin's, you know, good size. He moves well. He's left-footed. He plays in multiple positions up that left-hand side. Really, really good, Ryan. And has definitely improved in terms of the long period that he's had. So that's been him. And then, of course, Sam Durant just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And the supporters have been very, very unfortunate not to see him yet at the moment, because he has been very, very close to me putting him on in games. But again, both players are developing in their own right, and it's not an easy decision for us, Ricky, at this stage, for 2 young players that relatively should be playing senior football and are just really they're on that thin line for that successful one, or just being under it, really, and they really are. It's just a difficult decision for us, but one that we're not feeling that we have to make it straight away, because they are in with the group, training and with us every day and being part of the squad every day.
So cheers for that, Darren. I'll catch you Sunday.
Thanks, Ricky. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hiya, Darren. You okay?
Afternoon, Leon.
Hello, mate. Yeah, sorry, I've only got a few, mate.
No worries.
I was just wondering, Paul Warne is someone you know really well and got a lot of respect for. I know that when you were poorly a couple of years ago, and I think Paul had about COVID as well, he he got in touch and he checked on your well-being. Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with him. It's he's one of the good guys in football.
Yeah, and credit to Warning. We know his work, what he done, his previous club, and he seemed to have come to Derby and put some solid foundations in place. And he's working like a sword every day to bring still good stability and structure to that football club. In those days, when we had that illness, he had it as well as me. But I think where we kind of hit it off, we had some Sky Sports appearances down in London, and we really went down and sort of really had a real good time down there. And of course, me at Doncaster and him at Rotherham as manager, we've come up against each other lots of times. So yeah, one of the good figures in the game, hard working, thoroughbred in the game, solid, and a good all-round man, just a good all-round guy, which is credit to him really. So look forward to seeing him tomorrow. And as I said, his teams are always competitive, and I expect another competitive match tomorrow.
Once you dusted yourselves down from your disappointment 2 years ago, Rotherham went down and unfortunately Wednesday went down. Did you sort of commiserate with each other, because it was a remarkable day, wasn't it? You were at Derby, they were at Cardiff, and I think they got relegated with about a minute of the season left.
It was incredible and we did speak about it really, because we was, in terms of both managers, we were speaking about, if the one was to go down, then we was hoping that the other one would stay up.
Yeah.
And it looks as though that they were going to do it. And incredible, like literally in that last minute. I mean, it's just I don't know which one's harder to take really, but it was a disappointment really for us both. But we had to dust ourselves down and go again, and both teams showed an upward turn in terms of that season, and they managed to get it there, and we just missed out. But yeah, we did both speak, funny enough, Leon, at that time. But as I said, we've come a long way since then.
Was he speaking to you when you signed his two best players last summer?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we did. We had a chat. We had a chat at the. It was at the BBC studios in Sheffield actually when we sort of met up there. Yeah. But listen, he understands football as I understand football, and it was a genuine open chat as we always do, and yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you finally, Darren. You're both in similar boats. You're managing massive, huge football clubs who've got a real proud history, who find themselves where they don't particularly want to be, but you're having to deal with that and turn the ship around. And there's a lot of similarities in that respect, isn't there? And the fact that both Derby are sixth shows how strong the division is as well.
Yeah, and I remember we had a quick brief chat at the first game of the season that we played. We both got clubs that we're managing. We both got clubs with great expectation at the football club. So we're managing, but we're two guys that embrace the positions that we've both got at the clubs, and working extremely hard to see the fortunes of both clubs turn around. And as I said, we go head to head on Sunday, and then we go again in terms of where we feel we both are with our clubs, and the focus for this season. So it'll be another good game, another real competitive game. The energy will be in the stadium, and we look forward to the game.
And you might be seeing more of him.
Let's wait and see, Leon.
All right, Darren. Thanks for your time as ever.
Cheers, Leon. Thank you.